And I remember running to my wife. I came home and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. It was like, we made like $2,000 today while I was teaching tennis. I was like, I cannot believe this is possible. I was freaking out.
In today's video, I'm talking with two private label sellers that have been selling on Amazon since 2014. And I'm fortunate enough to get to talk with them about some of their successes and some of their failures and some of the things that they've seen change in the 7 years they've been selling. And this is something I want to do more on the channel, of starting to talk with people that sell different ways on Amazon, because I primarily talk about wholesale. So there are quite a few other ways to sell. So timestamp will be in the description below. I really hope you guys enjoy this one. Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. I have with Kris and Dustin, and really excited to talk with these guys. These guys are private label sellers, and they've been selling on Amazon for about 7 years now, so since 2014. I'm going to go ahead. I'm definitely excited to ask you guys some questions, but feel free. I want you guys to introduce yourself and kind of what you guys do.
Sure. You want me to go? I'll go first. Yeah, and glad to be on here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'll give a brief story how I got started into this. I was a tennis player in college, and so right after college, I started teaching tennis. So I became a teaching professional, and that became my career for a long time. So I was working at country clubs and different clubs as a tennis pro. And then around 2013, 2014, I've always kind of dabbled in side hustles, affiliate marketing and all kinds of different things. And around 2014, the Amazon FBA model, you started to see some people talk about it. And so I decided to go headfirst into it. There was hardly any courses back then, or there was like one podcast. Kris and I both listened to the same guy who was a podcast, and it was sort of wild, wild west at that time. I mean, it was much easier to get started than maybe now. But anyway, I decided to jump in. I followed a podcast. It was The Amazing Seller, Scott Voelker. Just kind of listened to everything. Every day, whatever I was doing, I was listening to this podcast and just jumped in. I put $500 into a product, sourced it from China, and then it came. I went through all the process of like taking pictures and doing the listings. I tried to follow the advice exactly the way that this guy was doing it, and quickly sold them. And then immediately got a loan from a family friend, $10,000 loan, bought a ton of inventory. And I was fortunate that product totally took off. And Kris and I will talk about this, but we had the app, like the Seller Central app. I kept refreshing it, and just to see like sales, it was the weirdest, coolest feeling in the world. And so I did that. I kept growing that. I kept growing my product line. And then about 2.5, 3 years into it, around 2017, summer of 2017, I had replaced the money I was making as a tennis pro. So I decided to quit what I was doing. We were living in Tennessee at the time, and I'm from Kansas City, and I have 2 boys. And I was like, you know what? Let's just move to Kansas City. I'm a huge Chiefs fan, so I had to be around the Chiefs. I wanted to raise my boys around them, and I had some family here. So we decided to come, and that was my lifestyle for 2.5 years. I was running the business, and then we can go into this a little bit more in private label. There's some ups and downs. So I had a little bit of a dip. I had to restructure, figure things out. Competition got fierce. Be more than happy to go into all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Now it's rebuilding it again, and I had the opportunity. I was fortunate to find Sellozo. Sellozo's based in Kansas City. I didn't know that. I was a part of a meetup, an Amazon sellers meetup group in Kansas City that I never attended one time, but I was get their emails, and then they posted a job offering. And so I went and applied. I was like, this is perfect. This is right up my alley. You tell me I can talk to Amazon sellers all day long, I'm sold. And so I did that, met Kris. That was 2 years ago. And since then, we've been having a blast. We started a podcast, talk about private label selling on Amazon. And yeah, that's we're cool. I mean, we can go into this more, but just learning from being in a community, that was the one thing that I didn't do well enough when I was first starting. And then when I took it on as my own business and it was my livelihood, I really didn't do a good enough job of networking so that I'm constantly up to date on like the new thing that changed and how to get out in front of everybody else. And that's what's different now and how I'm operating is because of this network and this great group of people like you. I mean, you came on our podcast and it was super fun. I learned a whole lot about wholesale. Now we're talking about it. Chris and I are like, we should do that.
Maybe it makes sense. No, that's cool. I could not agree more. That's awesome. What a great story. What a great origin story.
Thank you.
And Chris, feel free to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah. My name is Kris Gramlich. Like Dustin mentioned, Dustin and I worked together at a company called Sellozo. I got in this space. I worked at an e-commerce company who sold solely on their website. And about the end of 2013, early 2014, they were starting to dabble a little bit on Amazon. And they were doing FBA where they would send items in that they sold on their website. They were sending them into Amazon. And I was tasked with like learning the process, learning Seller Central. And so once I saw like, oh, I could do this on my own. Like basically we were just labeling items and shipping them in. Anybody with a Seller Central account could do this. I immediately went home and just got involved in all like the YouTube videos, listened to podcasts like Dustin mentioned, and just started learning this process of like, okay, you can actually sell items on Amazon. Anybody can do this. You just need a Seller Central account and then later, checking account, all that kind of stuff. So I learned a lot fast, helped that company launch or put all their products, which was like thousands of SKUs in the sporting goods niche on Amazon, and then started to do private label. I was like, maybe I can find my own product that I could sell and make it my own brand and just go right into it. Now, during this time, Dustin and I were both doing like retail arbitrage. I think everybody goes through the same journey, or most time, is they do retail arbitrage, figure it out, learn the process, and they like want to figure out wholesale because they don't know really where to private label yet. And private label is a really big upfront commitment with cash and stuff. So they try a little wholesaling, see if they can get in the foot the door there, and then they kind of transition to private label. So those three models seem to always interchange with one another. So I did some retail arbitrage, went to Walmart's, Targets, clearance, scanning. Like wife would be like, "What are you doing?" I'm going to the end caps and scanning stuff. So like I did all that and quickly realized like, man, you can make money, but going out and finding these items just takes forever. And so I was like, let's try online arbitrage. Like I started to learn about that. And tactical arbitrage, you mentioned it before, like that was a tool I was using. And this whole time I'm trying to like figure out if I want to do private label, and I'm still like looking at it, but I'm doing other things kind of to get my feet wet, like how to ship in items, how to make sure they're labeled, create listings if I need to, things like that. So finally I got in touch with the supplier, found a product that I want to source, and I got in touch with the supplier. And with private label, you have to have so many different SKUs. You have to commit to a lot of SKUs. Like they want 1,000 piece minimum or a dollar amount. I negotiated and said, no, I need like 72 units. I can't do more than 72 units. I'm going to put these on credit cards, which was crazy, but I'm going to put these on credit cards, and I can't do more than like 72 units. So finally, after some like months of negotiating, she came back and was like, we'll do it. As long as you commit to 1,000 pieces of packaging, we'll do 72 units at a time. I was like, okay, I'll just commit to the packaging. If I'm out $500 on the packaging, whatever, like I'll get the units. So we did it. She committed to it. 72 units turned into like 144, and then it turned into like 500, and then it was 1,000. Just like Dustin, my first product took off. And again, this is like 2014, 15. So it was crazy. Like you could just give product away and get reviews and sales. So then that got me more interested in this niche. The sporting goods place I was still working at, I was still doing, helping them with their products and getting them on Amazon. And then like late 2018, I got let go. I got let go at the sporting goods place, e-commerce company. And it's like, damn, now what do I do? I knew I wanted to be in the Amazon space. And to back up a little bit, I went to a meetup, and I actually went to these meetups because I was like so excited that there was actually somebody else in the area that sold on Amazon, or there was Amazon sellers. Because at the time I was like, no one else is doing this. We talk to friends, family. They're like, what do you do? I'm like, I sell stuff on Amazon, and that would be it. So I went to this local meetup and met Sellozo and met the Sellozo team there and some other sellers. And so I was like, this is really cool. Like I can really talk to other sellers and like help people out and learn. Well, when I got let go, I immediately contacted one of the admins at Sellozo that was in that meetup. I was like, hey, do you know anybody in the Amazon space? I know I want to be in the Amazon space because I really enjoy it. I want to be able to like work for Amazon company or software company. Do you know anybody in the space? And he's like, well, let me look. They didn't have an opening. Sellozo didn't have any openings at the time. They were just kind of a smaller team at the time. And so I reached out to a bunch of people and got a message back from the sales side, and was like, hey, what would you think about coming on as an account exec? I was like, well, I don't even know what that means. What's an account exec mean? He's like, you would talk to sellers all day showing what Sellozo does for their advertising. And I was like, perfect. I know advertising. I'm in advertising. I've done advertising for my own products. I want to be in the Amazon space. I'm in. And so I got in. A couple months later, Dustin got on. It's been a blast. I mean, it doesn't, and Kris, you could probably attest to this. It doesn't feel like work when you're doing something that you really like. Mm-hmm. And so Dustin and I all day just talk to sellers, meet people like you, and we get paid for it. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's like money is just a byproduct of what I do. And I'm sure you guys feel the same. It's like I get to do stuff and money follows after that. It's great. And I think that's like, you guys have such awesome stories. And I love the fact too, that, you know, I like how you mentioned everyone starts the same, but not everyone. And, you know, for anyone listening here, I always encourage you to have this mindset. Think about the next best opportunity. I know people, like I talk to them and they've been doing retail arbitrage for 2 or 3 years and they're just working themselves down. Try and scale. Like it's just a stepping stone. Like get to a more scalable business model, which on Amazon, really the only two I know of are wholesale and private label. Those are the only two. And I guess I was going to ask you guys, how much time, I know that you mentioned, and I definitely want to talk about it, how you like, there was this like restructuring time period, Dustin, you mentioned, where you had to kind of revamp some stuff. But on average, and you know, it's an ebbs and flow type thing. On average, how much time per week would you say you have spent on your business? What's that like for you guys? What's that workflow type for you guys?
So, I mean, when I was teaching tennis full time, I would work on my business anytime I wasn't teaching. That was the kind of a cool part about that particular job, was it would, you know, I would have a lesson, you know, from 9 to 11, and then I'd be off for 2 hours and have another lesson. So I would immediately go home, whatever I was working on, if I was doing product research or, you know, working on listings. But I would say on average, a couple hours a day, 3 hours a day, something like that, where I was really focused on it. Once I decided to go full time and quit, I hired VAs. And then we worked out a whole bunch of just operating procedures, and we met every morning. They were in the Philippines. So I got up at 6 a.m. and got on a Skype call with them from like 6 to 6:30, laid out what they were going to do for the day. And then other than that, I mean, I didn't do that much. I did a lot of product research myself, but that was fun. Like I love doing that. So I don't even feel like work. I mean, that's like going on Amazon and looking around at stuff I could possibly sell. So I was always dealt with product research and the supplier, but I turned over a lot of like the day-to-day, like customer feedback, answering questions, you know, the returns, review, just ways to get reviews, social media, influencers, all PPC, everything I turned over to the VAs, and which made it possible to scale a lot faster.
Exactly.
So,
you're able to like focus on the things that matter. Yeah, you're still spending 3 hours a day, whatever it is, on product research and supplier negotiation, because you've outsourced that stuff, doubled down on that stuff that can really help you scale. I love that. for sure.
At the beginning, I think you're spending a lot of time, just like Dustin, when I was working at this e-commerce company, come right home, I'd be right into Amazon. Like I'd be laptop open, YouTube video playing, Seller Central open, just trying to always trying to figure out the thing to do, like advertising, do I need to do better listing? But at the beginning, you're really into it. It's exciting. You're building something. So you want to know everything really fast. But once you get set up, it does take about 2 to 3 hours a day, maybe less than that as you scale, because you'll quickly learn. I think this, again, Dustin and I really comment on this. Product research and working with supplier, those are the two things that I think we really love to do. But making the listing or getting photos or even outsourcing PPC, somebody else can handle that. And I think it takes a lot of willpower to be okay, I figured this out. I've done this. I made my listings one time. Now my next product, somebody else is doing that. Somebody else can do the creative side. I want to do product research and negotiation. So I think you have to know what your strengths are and then get rid of your weaknesses, because that's going to be the quickest way to scale. So to piggyback on Dustin, a couple hours a day, maybe not even that sometimes.
Yeah. And you made a great point too. There's this page on Instagram. It's one of my favorite pages. It's called Earn Your Leisure. And I saw this graph one time where it was they talk about the work to pay correlation between a job and then starting your own business. In a job, and you start a job, you're immediately getting paid a salary or hourly rate or whatever, and it's the same. And it kind of just, maybe slightly increases or whatever. But you start a business, the graph was like this, where your time to work ratio, like you said in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of hours up front and you're not making any money. That's why it's really important to learn to love the process. I think personally, I found that was the case. And then eventually you get to the point where your work shrinks and your income is just it's exponentially growing. So I think that's really important for people starting out. And I wanted to ask you guys this too. You both said it. You both said it in your story, how when you're, a few years ago, it was easier to start, right? It was easier to start. And I noticed that that's with anything, right? But it's still hard though, because there is power in knowing that there's a proven track record, right? There's a proven track record when people starting out, they're oh, look at Kris, look at Dustin, look at all these other sellers at these Amazon meetups. And they know that they can do it. But in the beginning, when there's not as much out there and it's kind of the Wild West, it's am I doing this right? Is this even possible? And so what's your take on that in terms of, what were some of those things that you guys, and are you guys still facing that in any other areas of business, right? Where you don't really see a lot of people doing it, yet you are okay, it's kind of you're blazing your own trail. Is there anything like that you're seeing right now that there aren't a lot of people doing kind of cutting edge stuff, or what's that like?
I'll jump in here. Walmart is getting pretty attractive.
That's the one I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
That's literally mine. I was going to say, am I doing this right? Spending all this time. So that's what made me think of that. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Walmart's getting really attractive. People are starting to do that. Something I've been doing on the side. This has nothing to do with private label. It's pretty fun.
Cool. That's cool.
It's Facebook marketplace drop shipping. And so this is something
interesting. That's wild.
Yeah, this is something I've just been doing for a few months now, but this is crazy. This is insane.
No, let's hear it. Yeah.
I found this, this online YouTube. Anybody that can't find anything on YouTube, you're not looking hard enough. You can find things all over YouTube. So I found this where you could drop ship on Facebook. Now, again, I don't know if this is going to change in a couple months. This could be in term service, whatever. But what you do is your own personal profile. You list items on Facebook's marketplace, and those items are just being bought from Walmart or Amazon. And when somebody buys it on Facebook, you just ship them the item from Walmart or Amazon. Now on Facebook, you're charging $4 or $5 more than what they're listed on Amazon, and you're charging $6, $7 shipping. But you're buying it from Walmart or Amazon. First of all, you're getting tax exempt if you have that set up, and you're not paying shipping when you buy it from one of those places because it's free shipping. So that's been insane lately. And I've shown Dustin this. I was like, you got to check this out.
Yeah,
that's been my newest
wild.
opportunity is like Facebook Marketplace. Now it's got a lot of glitches.
I'm sure, yeah.
I get my Facebook account gets suspended probably every 3 days. but they're quick. Like I immediately, once I get suspended, I'm like, Facebook support, my Facebook account is suspended, and immediately they reactivate it. Like it gets reactivated quickly. And then when I lose Marketplace, because it's two different things. You'll lose your Facebook account, and then your Marketplace access you'll lose that too. So then there's so much stuff going on, but like that's a place, Walmart and Facebook drop shipping, that I've been seeing a lot to go with. That's an easy way to make a couple grand in a month pretty fast.
I like it, man. That I've never heard of. That's the first time hearing about
cool.
that. That is cool.
I'm listing my first couple today. Actually, we've just been talking about this as Kris has been telling me all about it. It's fascinating. But that's sort of how,
that's how we got into private label.
Yeah, that's Kris and I only know each other for 2 years, but our mentality is very much the same. It's like you hear a good idea, we like immediately just start acting on it. Like it's either going to work or it's not going to work, but we're not going to miss out. And so that's to bring up your point about opportunity. That is, when I first started or heard about the FBA model, I had just read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, the book, and I was like, man, that would be cool. And then this FBA model, I'm like, that truly is like making money while you sleep. I'm going to order 3,000 units at once and then not touch them, not do anything other than, work the listing and all that stuff. And then these sales start coming in. And I remember running to my wife. I came home and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. It was like a year into it. I was like, we made like $2,000 today while I was teaching tennis. I was like, I cannot believe this is possible. I was freaking out. And then I was like, I knew I was hooked and sold on it. And the way Amazon US marketplace was in 2014 is the way it is in a lot of the emerging markets right now. So like
that's what I've
heard.
To
Australia or even Europe, even though they're more along the way, there's still less competition. Canada still has tons less. Mexico could be very interesting. And of course they're opening up all kinds, like the Arab Emirates. That's money galore out there, and it's an emerging market. So that's something that I've been exploring. I've tested it out with Canada, but now moving forward, I might try to do some emerging markets where there's just, we're already sourcing the product. So the more eyeballs we can get in front of, I sell everything that I sell on Amazon. I sell on my own website. I sell on eBay. So I'm getting registered for Walmart now, but
he's about to do Facebook too.
Facebook Marketplace. Now I'm listing my products. That's what I'm listing first, is actually my own products. Cause I keep some inventory here at the house. So, I could just ship those suckers out. I'm fine with that. I'll scale that if it works, but there's always opportunities. You hear people talk a lot about how it's getting more competitive, but that's a really, really narrow view. It's ultra competitive in certain niches that for some reason everyone's drawn to. And especially if the products are really cheap. If you can source something for 25 cents and sell it for $10, there's probably 25,000 people trying to do the same thing on the same product. And it's low barrier to entry. But if you work around the edges, this is something I've talked to Kris about, I've been experimenting with, is like just way out there products that are not like, I'm not talking about doing like a jump rope or, something that everybody's going to try to source or buy, but like parts. You could source parts to like washing machines that are universal, and there's low competition and there's tons of buyers. So there's so many things that you can do on Amazon. I think the opportunity is bigger than it's ever been. There's more people buying. So even though it's more competitive, you could have way more sales. The ending revenue could be a lot bigger. So it's exciting. We have fun talking about it.
It really is. It really is exciting. Yeah, you're right. It is a very narrow view to say it's more competitive, maybe in certain niches. And I think it was Warren Buffett that said the bigger the problem you solve, the more money you make, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, yeah, if you're trying to source something that everyone else has access to for cheap, and that's your only differentiating factor, it's not a brand, it's not, some obscure part, it's not a supplier relationship, it's not your negotiating tactics, then yeah, you're going to be a dead fish in the water. You're screwed. So, what do you think is something that you guys do really well? Like, what are some things that what are your strengths, I guess? And what's that like for you guys?
For me, I love doing the product research. I love looking for new products and looking to find new areas to look at. But I've also been really into PPC. Even before Sellozo, I would watch my advertising for my products. But when we got into Sellozo, I just took it to a new level once I got started here. So talking PPC with sellers, looking at their product pages, and I think the strength now is being able to help other sellers. Where when Dustin and I started, we didn't really lean on anybody. We didn't have a group. I mean, we talked about our meetup group, but you're only going to get so much. And what was it saying? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. We were in the wrong room.
Yeah.
So we were in the wrong room. So being now, I wish I would have done what we're doing now years ago, networking and putting yourself out there. I was scared to death to do a podcast, and Dustin was like, we got to do it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this. So I think now it's being able to help other sellers to try to prevent them from doing the same mistakes that we've done, because we've been burned. I mean, we've got horror stories too, so it's not all gravy.
Well, and that was my question too, is when I think of private labeling, right, which I haven't really asked you this many questions yet, but it's my biggest concern is buying something and then just not being able to get rid of it. I made a wrong, are there ways? I feel in wholesale, there's 90, I can, knowing what I know now, 90% of the time we can buy some stuff and get rid of it and at least break even. You know what I mean? At least break even quick like that. That's my biggest, I guess, fear. It's a fear of private labeling is spending all this time and energy, which there's an opportunity cost with time, right? For all these other opportunities we're talking about, and then not selling. What is that like for you? What's that objection? How do you address that?
Dustin has a really good method here.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So number one, you can validate a product for low entry. And ways we do it, it's a lot of times, you don't even have to deal with your ending supplier or do a huge order at first. So a lot of times what I'll do is, and this is not what I used to do, I've learned because I've been burned like that. I've had, a ton of inventory in here, and then, I had competition come in where I couldn't compete. And now I'm out. I've got a big loan out on this huge order I've done, and now the inventory's stuck. But there are ways to liquidate it, and you can get your money back. And, I did all that. But to your point, you can go right now, let's say you want to sell a jump rope. Let's say that is what you want to sell. Okay. You could go to Alibaba or AliExpress, and these suppliers you find which one you're that's kind of exactly what I want to sell right there. It's close. That's the kind of jump rope I want to sell. You could order 10 of them, 20 of them, 100 of them, and they won't have any of your branding on it. They won't have any of they'll just be in a poly bag or however it's packaged. And then I'll usually get those. I'll order that. I will, my son, he's in high school. He's really good with Photoshop. So I'll have him just design a label, and we'll come up with a brand name, or if I have an existing brand. So we'll make this label look really good. I'll print them. I'll just stick it on the poly bag. So now it's at least more professional and it's branded. I may not have the branding on the product. Spend some time on the listing, send them in, and see what happens. If they start selling, start getting good reviews, I'm only in it for a couple $100 maybe at this point. And if it starts to sell, validates, it's good. And then what I can do is now do the same process of making I'll order maybe 200. but it's the same process where it's coming to my house, I'm doing the labels and stuff. But once there's actual real traction, then you talk to a supplier and then you just get all that stuff done and just have it shipped straight to either your 3PL.
So you're kind of doing it the whole, like the people that do the Kickstarter way, where you're testing to see if there's a demand before you're just, which I think is a wonderful way to do it, rather than like, I'm going to invest all this time and money. So, and to further that question is you're not doing the whole, like, giving away 300 units. Is that like a thing from 2017 or something?
No, that's still
real.
It's still real. Okay. So when would that happen? Like
once you validated it. I mean, if you validated it and you've proved the concept, like number one, you get a lot of data, okay, that comes in. Like there's a lot of things you don't know until you actually test it out. So like if you've got 100 units and you've done it on the cheap, it's not exactly how your product's going to be in the future. Maybe you could do some tweaks to it or whatever. You're just validating that this is potentially going to be profitable. Well, you list it and now you can start running ads. So you instantly find out like how much is the cost per click in this category. Like you don't know until you start doing this stuff. So
what are the search terms?
Hey, what search terms do people going to purchase this on? That helps you reorganize your listing so you can try to rank organically on the main keywords. Some products are really funny. They have different search terms you wouldn't think of that people find the product with. Sometimes you find out that it's a multi-use product and you could actually tailor specifically to one use. And now you would own all the traffic to that because everybody else is saying it's this tool, and it's not like this is the tool for baseball players or this is the tool for whatever, because it's multi-use. So you learn a lot. And then if it's validated, and hopefully now at this point, you've got a couple reviews, which is nice. Then you make your big order with a supplier. And that's when like doing giveaways and doing search, find, buys and all these things just propel you up the rankings a lot faster. But you've validated it and the chances of it failing are a lot less now.
Yeah, because it's like, wow, I've already been selling this at, and it's not even probably the most optimized product yet, like packaging.
Nothing.
Like
right.
feedback, like inserts or whatever you guys do, whatever.
It's gonna only get better, but you haven't laid all that. I mean, getting inserts cards and designing packaging, all that costs a lot of money. So you don't want to do that unless you've validated it. I mean, 1 out of 3 products is probably successful. And then those change over time.
What do you think's the average? What's the average lifespan of a product that you see, like a private label product, and what's a typical ROI? Like not net, but like return on spend, I guess.
Yes, that's a good question. I mean, I'm. This is probably my weakness. I don't like to give up on my product too soon. Yeah. So
I mean, might not be a weakness. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it can be. Yeah,
it can be. I'm sure.
Okay, so I'll back up. I sold a dog brush. Okay, and it was just a simple dog brush, and the only thing I did to the product was custom packaging and custom color. That was it. Same product. Everybody was selling the same thing, but some people have different color. Some people have different packaging, but I was selling the same thing. I launched multiple brushes that competed against each other because my thought process was I'm going to create a brand around brushes for dogs and your pets. And so I was holding on to all these brushes thinking that everybody was going to buy more than one of them. But I should have just launched one, test the market, scale that one up, see if it's even got potential before I even spread myself too thin on creating this whole line. So I would look back, I would like right now I have a few products that I'm getting ready to get rid of because they just don't have the velocity nor the search volume. Like people really don't care about them. So that's a hard pill to swallow because you put so much time into these that when they suck, you're like, I don't want to give up on it. I want to keep trying everything. So you got to get rid of it. I would say that time frame within the first 6 months, if it's not getting, Dustin, you can chime in too, 8 to 10 sales a day consistently or more, it's time to probably move on.
Mm-hmm. Or if it costs too much. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. You can easily see if you're going to be profitable or not. But that's the difference of the wholesale model and the private label model. Is the private label model, you spend a good amount of time on a product, and if it goes well, you own every sale of that product. I mean, I've had products where I sell 200 units a day of that product, and it's for years and years and years, I would, for those products, selling that amount, and you put a little bit of time in up front to do the listing, as opposed, and your margins are better. I mean, our average margin is probably like 40%, 40% on every sale I make. That includes everything, all the Amazon fees and PPC. Now, at first, you can be negative because you're trying to you're running aggressive advertising to try to get the product up the organic rank. And that's the other benefit, is you have total control. So like when you wholesale something, you're jumping onto somebody's listing that's already created. So you don't really have much say in, and you do, I'm sure you changed images or something on certain listings, but you don't have total control. And so a private labeler, I mean, you can go in and you can say, I'm just going to make this look way better than everybody else's. And so when they search it, they see your pictures are amazing, your title's great, your listing looks good. You just present yourself better. You can gain more market share of that, and you own the buy box 100% of the time. So that's the benefit of it. But it's fun. It's a game that Kris and I love. It's a game because every day it's like the rules change a couple times a day. You don't know what is going to happen. So it keeps you on your toes. Your competitors get better. But it's a fun business model. We have a blast with it.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of fun. And like you said, there's definitely more control there for sure. Talking about this makes me want to experiment with some private labeling. So, I mean, I guess what's the, for someone who's just starting, right? Like myself included, what would be one piece of advice that you would have for someone that's wanting to get started with private labeling in 2021, coming up on 2022, right?
Don't go into a competitive niche unless it's like your passion and you're just deciding to build a massive brand in that niche. Otherwise, you're going to get killed. That's the thing that Kris and I see all the time. Somebody comes and they're like, we're going to launch this new protein powder. And you're like, oh, geez. I mean, protein, there's 9 billion protein powders out there. They're willing to spend so much money. You're never going to, and they've got, 25,000 reviews. I mean, it's going to take you so long and so much money to ever get into that market, to gain any market share, that you're just going to get frustrated. But if you are good at and spend time on product research, and you have a huge advantage. Okay. If I was a wholesaler and I had hundreds of SKUs in my catalog, I would just look through those. I would see which ones are selling really well. And it's even better if that product is selling and the listing is crappy and there's not that many competitors, and the competitors have 3.5 star reviews. And they're, but that this product, because you're selling it right now, that it's selling, I would immediately source that sucker.
Oh yeah.
And start a brand all around it and launch it. It's like you have all the product research right there in front of you.
Well, I would even talk to my distributor and be like, hey, who makes this? I have a question about the product or something. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, it's so-and-so over here in Wisconsin. Like, okay, hello, so-and-so Wisconsin. I want to get 500 units with my own brand.
That's 100%. Wild.
I would do that. I mean, we were talking about that after you came on our podcast. And we're like, can you imagine if you were to have this whole catalog of wholesale products you could just go through and try to
whatever your best seller is? There's this brand right now I'm writing down that literally just came to mind. There's this, that's so funny. Wow. It's definitely not applicable across our entire catalog. Cause it's I was telling you guys this on your podcast, we can't make a Nintendo Switch. I'm pretty sure Nintendo's got the game on that. Yeah. But But to say it doesn't apply for the entire catalog, I think is a bit extreme. So, but not, like I said, there's just one brand that immediately pops into my mind. That's without even looking at the data. So fantastic, guys. Yeah, I could definitely talk with you guys all day. I love talking Amazon. Where can people find you guys at? Well, like, what's, I know you mentioned Sellozo. What's the website there? Where can we find you? Reach out.
Sure. It's sellozo.com, sellozo.com. Also, we have our own podcast. It's Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone. We just had you on, which was a great show. We're all over LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Just look our name up. You'll find us there.
Yep.
Cool. And wherever you're listening, link will be in the description below. Check these guys out. Definitely the real deal. Kris, Dustin, thanks a lot for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having us.